There's no failed policy more in need of urgent change than our government-run education monopoly. At the state and federal level, the United States spends more than $620 billion on K-12 education each year. That's an average of about $12,296 for every student enrolled in our elementary and secondary public schools. We spend more per student than almost any other major country in the world, and we're doing very poorly.
In the inner cities of America, the failed schools, they don't care that year in and year out these kids fail. They run these schools for the Democratic Party. It's a slush fund for the Democratic Party. Half of the mainly black and Hispanic school population don't graduate, and the half of them who do are functionally illiterate. This is racism.
There are, as you said, many blacks today who are still being given totally inadequate education, yes, cannot be expected to get very far for that reason. What would be your remedy for that?
I would allow their parents to have a choice of where to send them to school, whether that choice is called a voucher scheme, open enrollment, tuition tax credit, any kind of scheme of that sort that would put that power in the hands of their parents. That would mean that the schools would have to be responsive to them. As it is now, the school is a monopoly. They need not be responsive.
Hello, my name is Ginny Sand, and I'm the founder and the director of Connect the Dots. Because of the California Constitution, the way it's set up, it mandates that 50% of our spending go to education in the state. That sounds like a good idea, you'd think, except that it's not working out too well. One of the reasons why we pay so much is because we have among the highest paid teachers in the country. The average teacher in California makes $78,000 per year, with summers off. And the average full-time worker here in California only makes $52,000 per year. He doesn't have the Cadillac health plans and the pensions that are bankrupting the state. With all the spending, it's not working, and our children aren't being educated. We have the lowest test scores. We're second, third from the bottom in test scores. The teachers union is part of the problem. It's almost impossible to fire anybody. And guess what? The teachers just voted to go on strike.
An overwhelming 98% voted yes to authorize a strike if needed.
So the college campuses are completely out of control. You have microaggressions and trigger warnings, safe spaces. The University of California just released more racist microaggressions. On them is a racist statement is saying there is only one race, the human race. That is an outlawed statement in the UC system. Saying America's the greatest country in the history of the world is not allowed in the UC system. The professors and the academics and the administrators, they will stop at nothing to indoctrinate college students away from fundamental American values.
So many times I want to take it out on these kids. I hold them in such low esteem, these millennials, and then I realize, wait a minute, they didn't educate themselves. They're not the ones who came up with the, hey, nobody comes in first and we're not going to keep score. No one, they didn't do that. That's not their choice. Somebody else did that to them. As a result of elites. It's a result of people who live in castles, who don't connect to the people in the real world. Our actual future, it's going to be dependent on what young people think, because pretty soon young people get to be older and then they start voting, and that's the way it goes.
They're using every avenue they can to promote the idea that we're the problem. These supposedly stupid people are influencing others. Year in and year out through education system, they're in the places that we're not.
You know, when I was a kid, we learned about civics. We learned about the three branches of government. It feels like, to me, they're not learning it.
There's more to political and ideological bias than individual teachers and teachers' unions who are talking about President Trump.
What country did we declare independence from to celebrate the 4th of July?
I don't know.
It goes much deeper than all of that.
What's the purpose of 4th of July weekend?
No, celebrate our independence.
A little more specifically, please.
I really don't know.
The curriculum itself is often intentionally biased and one-sided.
Who won the Civil War?
I don't know.
If you look, for example, at California's History and Social Studies curriculum framework, it conspicuously fails to mention, for example, the monumental atrocities committed by communism in the 20th century.
Which political party was fighting to support slavery during the Civil War?
Republicans.
Actually, it was the Democrats.
How?
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln didn't.
Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
In the section on the Cold War, the curriculum framework only says that the Soviet Union had a poor record of protecting human rights.
we want to know how many stars are on this flag.
51. You guys are gonna make me look stupid.
How many states are there?
In 2010, Randy Weingarten, the shrill mouthpiece for the teachers' unions, got her head handed to her in a debate, broadcast nationwide, about whether the unions should be blamed for the failures of public education. The resounding yes side: Terry Moe, a Democrat poli-sci professor at Stanford; Rod Page, Secretary of Education under George W. Bush; and Larry Sand, a 30-year veteran public school teacher, handed her team a stunning defeat. The audience at NYU, in the largest, most liberal, unionized school district in the country, was almost unanimous in their verdict.
Before the debate, 24% of you were for the motion, 43% were against, and 33% were undecided. After the debate, 25% are for, 68% against, and 7% undecided. The side against the motion wins.
25-1 against the unions. That's what happens when we have a level playing field.
My name is Larry Sand. I'm a former school teacher. I taught for 28 and a half years in New York and Los Angeles. In 2006, I started a nonprofit called the California Teachers Empowerment Network, and we try to get information to teachers about their profession, information that they don't get from their school district or their teachers' union. Clearly, our education system is broken, and at $620 billion a year nationally, we need to do something different. And what we must do is put parents in charge of their child's education. The education establishment fights school choice fervently, but it is hardly revolutionary. School choice is the real game changer. Australia, Denmark, France, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, and Belgium, just to name a few, have some form of school choice that includes the private option. And it's working so well in Sweden that even the socialists like the privatization factor. A terrific and very innovative idea has taken root in California. I want to tell you about a plan which could save California. Pending signatures, there will be an initiative on the ballot in 2020 that will give parents the power to choose a school that would be the best fit for their child. Now, I'm just going to give you the basics. 13 years of private schooling in this state costs about 120 grand. Whereas 13 years of public schooling costs about 195 grand. The plan is that if a parent sends their kid to a private school, the money they save the state could be used by the parent to help pay for their kid's college tuition. Take that $75,000 that would have gone to a public school if a parent decides to send their kid to a private school, and use that money to fund the kid's college. Since the state spends about $15,000 per student and private school costs run about $10,000 per annum, the $5,000 savings will go toward the child's college tuition. And if a parent does this for 13 years, K through 12, the savings will be $65,000, and the parent can put that money toward the college of their choice. Student debt would go out the window, and the taxpayer would not be out one more penny. What's going to save us in education is choice. You have choice when you go buy yogurt. You have choice when you go buy computers. You have choice when you buy cat food or anything else. Why not in education? It's time.
But when I look at Berkeley and places like that, I begin to think that university's finished. There's no reason to go. But seriously, the world is changing, and we have the means through the internet to do something that we've never been able to do before.
I work in schools, predominantly with elementary school children. If you're talking to third graders, they easily understand supply and demand, even if they can't name the term to the example you're giving them. They don't have to participate in a $1 billion financial literacy program. When I talk to kids about economics and the difference between democracy and communism, they understand more than what I'm hearing out of college campuses.
We conservatives have history and logic and perspective and critical thinking and dialogue and debate. Organize that next generation around the ideas of freedom and liberty and smaller government.
Education is the civil rights issue of our time. Families should be free to choose the public, private, charter, magnet, religious, or home school that is right for them. Every American child should be able to grow up in a safe community, to attend a great school, and to have access to a high-paying job. Streets where mothers are safe from fear, schools where children learn in peace, and jobs where Americans prosper and grow are not too much to ask.